Blood pools on a velvet carpet. A gaunt, wild-eyed father cradles the limp body of his only child. Tsar Ivan IV the Terrible cradles Tsarevich Ivan on 16 November 1581, the very moment after his devastating blow. On canvas, every stroke is agony. We hear the prince's final breath. We see the Tsar's terror. This chilling scene is not a nightmare. It is Ilya Repin's painting from 1885. In a single image, centuries of Russian history collide. But this brutal image did more than depict murder. It unleashed shockwaves through time. The young Tsar Alexander III banned it almost immediately. Decades later, furious viewers would attack the work with knives and poles. Orthodox zealots called it a falsification of history. A curator took his own life after hearing it was stabbed. Even today, it lurks behind bulletproof glass, whispered to be cursed by violence. What dark truth lies hidden in these paint strokes? What secret did Repin bury in sorrow and rage? In today's video, we will unlock the story behind this painting, the secret it holds about a father and son, and the bloody burdens of power. Stay with us to the end. A remarkable new discovery may change everything you thought you knew about that frozen moment in 1581. On canvas, Ivan the Terrible's face is contorted in shock and remorse. His eyes look wild, almost unseeing, bulging with horror, despair, and madness. In his arms, the young prince Ivan Ivanovich slumps, one bloody hand reaching out. The father's grip is feverish, as if clutching hope itself. He presses a hand against the red wound on the boy's temple, yet the blood flows unchecked. The swords, scepter, and toppled chair in the background tell us a struggle just ended. The crimson pool on the carpet was once the Tsarevich's life. The ordinary light from a small window barely penetrates the gloom, casting tall shadows. This is twilight in the palace, the moment after the blow. There is no return to innocence, only the stark irreversibility of violence. The blood flows from his son's temple, and the attempt Ivan the Terrible makes to contain it is hopeless. The artist erased the most explicit violence. In early sketches, Ivan holds the royal scepter, the murder weapon, and the carpet glistens with bright red blood. In the final painting, Repin sets the scepter aside on the floor and deepens the shadows. The scene now feels intimate, a father begging his son not to die. How are we meant to feel looking at this? You might feel horror at the act, pity for the boy, and a strange sorrow for the father. Even Ivan Kramskoy, the artist's friend, wrote that just one glance at this image will forever protect a human being from the wild beast he has in him. To understand why Repin chose this subject, we must return to the real night of November 1581. Historical accounts are sparse and contradictory, but three main theories have emerged about what happened at the Alexandrov Kremlin that winter night. 1. The slap heard round Russia. Ivan the Terrible stormed into a chamber and found his daughter-in-law Yelena dressed in a way that he deemed immodest. He struck her. She miscarried the next day. Her husband, Tsarevich Ivan, rushed to protest, and in the heated clash, the Tsar hit his son on the temple with his staff. The blow was fatal. This dramatic version comes from 16th century sources like the Jesuit Antonio Pazzavino. It paints Ivan IV as a jealous, violent tyrant whose anger destroyed his only heir. 2. The illness or poison theory. Tsarevich Ivan Ivanovich had been ill, perhaps feverish, perhaps poisoned by enemies. In fact, Ivan IV himself wrote in 1581 that his son was terminally ill without specifying why. Some chroniclers of the time and later Soviet forensic experts suggest the boy died of natural causes, possibly exacerbated by earlier injuries. A 1963 exhumation found elevated arsenic and mercury in the Tsarevich's bones, but not enough to prove poisoning. Mercury was a common medicine then, and traces of poison could have leached out over 400 years. The autopsy report was inconclusive. The prince's skull was too eroded by groundwater to diagnose any wound. This implies the legend of filicide could be just that, a legend. 3. The ambitious son. Another account suggests jealousy and politics. Tsarevich Ivan had demanded to lead the army himself to restore Russia's glory. The aging Tsar, already suspicious and paranoid, flew into an uncontrolled rage at his son's boldness. In fury, Ivan IV struck the boy, a blow meant perhaps only to punish, not kill, but it fractured his skull. Horrified, the father realized too late he had committed a monstrous act. He clutched his dying son, moaning, "I have killed my son, my son." Overcome with remorse, Ivan wept and vowed forgiveness to his son on his deathbed. These stories share a common core, a clash of pride between father and son in the dark of night, yet no single version is confirmed by solid evidence. Russian historian Sergei Shokharev points out that surviving chronicles do not definitively record a murder. They simply note the prince's death and a stormy relationship with his father. Officially, the elder Ivan never publicly admitted guilt. He wrote simply that his son was ill, and many contemporaries whispered that something untoward had happened. For Repin, however, this mystery was an artistic invitation. The gruesome drama fits a pattern, power consuming those it should protect. In the painting, the Tsar's face is not triumphant or cruel after the blow, but hollow with shock, matching the ambitious son version's moment of regret. The discarded scepter on the floor hints at an impulsive act. The portrait shows not a scheming murderer, but a man paralyzed by guilt. Why did Ilya Repin, living in 1880s Russia, choose to depict a story from 1581? The answer lies in his time. Repin had witnessed a recent regicide in 1881. Tsar Alexander II was assassinated by revolutionaries. It shocked Russia to its core. Repin himself was close to these events. He even sketched the execution of the assassin. He saw firsthand how vengeance and justice could mingle in blood. In 1882, Repin began his canvases. That same year, he traveled through Europe to Paris and Spain. In Spain, he witnessed bullfights with their raw pools of blood in the sand. The color and terror stuck with him. He said he wanted to use blood-red hues to convey the scene's emotional horror. By early 1885, Repin had finished the painting. He handed it to his friends for feedback. They sat in stunned silence. Ivan Kramskoy, an esteemed painter-critic, was aghast, then profane. He gasped, "What is this murder, carried out by a wild beast and a psychopath?" Politically, the painting was dangerous. It shows a Tsar, Russia's sacred ruler, in a most unholy act. Konstantin Pobedonostsev, the powerful reactionary advisor to Tsar Alexander III, reportedly told the Tsar he was repulsed and confused by the scene. Within days of its debut in 1885, viewing of the painting was forbidden by order of the Tsar. It made history as the first ever painting censored in Imperial Russia. Tretyakov, the gallery owner, was told not to expose it at all. Only the intervention of another artist, Alexei Bogulyubov, 3 months later convinced the government to lift the ban. Repin had to keep the canvas hidden from the public eye for months, while the court dreaded its political implications. When finally exhibited, the painting polarized all who saw it. Some, like Kramskoy, recognized its raw genius and mourned its subject. Others deemed it scandalous. One symbologist poet argued it should be taken down, claiming it incited violence and madness. Over the decades, countless articles and books have called Ivan and his son the most controversial painting in Russian history. In 1913, an iconoclastic attack cemented its ominous reputation. On a January day, a 28-year-old priest's son named Abram Balashov crept into the Tretyakov gallery. Balashov was an old believer, a traditionalist Orthodox sect, and reportedly mentally troubled. Without warning, he threw a gardening knife and slashed the canvas 3 times, right across the startled faces. As he cried out, "Enough with blood, enough with murder," he sank the blade into the fabric. The damage was horrifying. The painter Repin, by then in his 80s, rushed to the gallery and wept at the sight. Miraculously, specialists restored the painting, painstakingly transferring the remaining paint to a new canvas and having Repin repaint the shredded bits. Yet the true tragedy was personal. The gallery's curator, Georgy Kruslov, was so distraught by the vandalism that he committed suicide that same day. Then, exactly a century later, an eerily similar scene played out. In May 2018, a drunken visitor, Igor Podporin, smashed the protective glass with a metal pole and violently attacked Ivan and his son. Podporin reportedly shouted at the canvas, "Ivan the Terrible never killed his son." He later claimed the painting insulted his patriotism by falsifying history, echoing nationalist cries of a foreign smear campaign against Russia. Why such fury? Some viewers, like Podporin, see in Repin's work political blasphemy. In 2013, a group of Orthodox activists petitioned the government to ban the painting altogether, calling it offensive and unpatriotic. They argued the scene was a fabrication meant to smear the Holy Tsar. The gallery refused to remove it, but the debate rages on. To this day, Russian nationalists protest its display, claiming the murder never happened. Why does this painting still resonate so strongly? The answer lies in its universal themes of violence, power, and regret. The image of a despotic leader committing an atrocity speaks to our fears of unchecked authority. In our own times, when leaders are mythologized and history is contested, Repin's work reminds us that those in power are still human, capable of error, even monstrous error. Emotionally, any parent watching Ivan cry over his child tugs at our heartstrings. Politically, Russia's current debates about its past make this 1885 painting startlingly relevant. Voices in Russia today debate how to remember historical figures, whether to canonize them or condemn them. Some want to sanctify Ivan IV as a strong defender of Russia, flaws and all. Others remember him as a tyrant. Repin's canvas sits squarely in that conflict. Even as glass separates us from the paint, we feel attacked by it. As we leave the world behind the frame, one question lingers. What is the painting's true secret? Was Ivan IV truly a monster or a grieving father? Did the artist reveal history or spin a sob story? In the end, maybe it doesn't matter which theory is fact. The painting's power comes from its ambiguity, from that frightened, mortal look in the Tsar's eyes. Modern science hints one answer: the idea that poison, not intent, ended both lives. But even if Ivan IV didn't swing a staff, Repin's canvas shows what could happen when pride and power collide. Perhaps the real secret is this: we cannot turn away from the face of violence, even when it's our own father. Repin's final stroke was to force us to look in the mirror. In Ivan's despair, we see our own regrets. In the son's innocence, we see the cost. The painting whispers that some truths are too terrible to ignore. Now, more than a century after its creation, Ivan the Terrible and his son still sits in silence, daring us to listen to its whispered confession.